So there's just been a leak on the new Fractal audio products called the VP4, which stands for Virtual Pedal Board 4. Today's video, we're going to talk about what it is, how much I think it's going to cost, is it even necessary, should you get one, and who is the Fractal Audio VP4 for? Let's get into it. So let's first talk about what it is. The Fractal Audio VP4 stands for Virtual Pedal Board 4. It has 4 switches, and it's presumably going to have 4 effects that are going to be assigned to those switches that you can use at any given time. Think of it kind of like the HX effects, but with a lot better effects and processing units because, let's be real here, Fractal is the best in the industry. You can come fight me on that. I stand by those words wholeheartedly. As far as we know, it is not a replacement for anything on the marketplace. Think about the Line 6. They have the HX1, which is just that single pedal, the HX Stomp, the HX Stomp XL, the HX Edits, and the Helix. This is just the effect unit side of the Fractal family. So with only 4 buttons and likely only 4 effects per each preset, it is important to note that it will have different presets, different scenes, all the other great features that you know and love about the Fractal stuff. And I think this is exactly what Fractal needs. Fractal has always been above the upper echelons when it comes to price point, which we'll get to in a second. But having something that's going to be just the effects, which are incredible, by the way, at a lower price point is going to allow Fractal to get into those smaller, cheaper markets and reach a wider audience. I've long said that Fractal has done a great job of making incredible products, but done a terrible job at marketing to the masses. If you know a good Fractal product, chances are you wanted the best of the best. It's not for everybody, but when you really want high performance sound effects and especially high performance guitar effects, whether that's drives, fuzzes. I think the fuzzes on the Fractal stuff is the best type of fuzz that you can get in any amp modeler. So that's all coming to this smaller, cheaper unit, and I think this is a very, very smart move from Fractal. But it's a chance for other players to try the Fractal stuff out. And I'm going to talk about professionals here for a while, so just bear with me when I mention this, but Steve Vai is a known Fractal user. But he only uses it really for his effects, particularly the reverbs and delays. If you look at his rig, you can see that the AxeFX 3 goes in between his effects loop within his Vai signature amplifiers. Now, this is going to be something very similar to that. Well, I don't think Steve Vai will probably necessarily be using this, but if you have like a clean Fender amp, and you want to have a bunch of effects, but you don't want to drag out something like a Fractal AxeFX 3, or you want something that's a little bit better than the HX effects. We don't know exactly what these things are going to sound like, but if they sound like anything close to what the AxeFX 3 and the FM9 and FM3 sound like, they're going to be better than the HX effects. But I think it is the perfect situation for where you want a multi-effects pedal board, but you want it to be slim, very sleek, and the best of the best when it comes to tones, and probably at a reasonable price point. When I mentioned in my how to get Keith Urban's guitar tone video, I also mentioned that he also uses the AxeFX for tones for effects. Not necessarily his amp tones, though his amp is within the AxeFX ecosystem, but that's another story for another time. So I think this is a great middle ground for those who want to get into amp modeling, but maybe not amp modeling, those who want to get into modelers, but not ready to ditch the tube amp. But they want to get those sweet, awesome Fractal effects. So is it necessary? Absolutely. But how much should it cost? Now, this is going to be a tricky point, right? Because Fractal's always been the upper echelon of price points, always been the most expensive amp modelers out there. But I think if they play their cards right, they can actually find a really sweet spot here. So I dug up some price points of similar modelers, and bear with me if they're not exactly what the VP4 is, but they're very close. So the Line 6 HX effects currently comes in at $649, $650. Quite a lot of money. But when you think about it, you got 6 different foot switches. And you can run a number of different effects. The HX1, which is a single effect unit or 2 effect unit, depending on how you look at it, comes in at $250, $249 at the time of recording. The Boss GT1000 Core comes in at $599. The Kemper Profiler Player And this is where it gets a little bit trickier because it plays profiles, not just effects. Comes in at $729, which when you really think about it, being able to play profiles and have a Line 6 effects unit, I would say the profiling, being able to play amp sounds as well, than just the HX effects, only being the difference of, I had to do some math quick, $70. That's kind of wild to me. Next, talking about the new Quad Cortex Nano pedal. It comes in at $549, and then the Headrush MX5, which is kind of your very low end entry amp modeler, comes in at $399. VP4 will be super successful if it comes in between all those price points. I don't think it's going to be less than $400. I'd be very shocked if it was less than $400. That'd be amazing if it was less than $400 or $399. But the HX effects coming in at $650. You pay $100 more and get the amp modeling technology for the HX Stomp and HX Stomp XL. So I think it needs to come in below that $650 mark. Now, if you look at what the FM3, the new one, the Mark II Turbo version, comes in, it's $1,100, which is quite a lot. That's a lot for an amp modeler with only 3 switches. If Fractal wants to play in this space, it needs to come in around that $500, $600 mark. I don't think a lot of folks are going to be happy with that. It'd be amazing if it came in at the $400 mark. But looking at what Fractal has done in the past, the cheapest thing that you can get into right now is for over $1,000. Anything under that, which it will almost guaranteed, is going to come over under $1,000. It's going to be great. But if it can get close to that $600 price point, where you're competing with the HX effects, you're competing with the Boss GT1000 core, you're competing with the Kemper Profiler player, you're going to win a lot of folks over because they want the best of the best when it comes to effect sounds. So who is this for? Who is the Fractal Audio VP4 for? I personally think it's for those who want to continue to run their tube amps. You're not ready to quite give up the tube amps. You love them. Or maybe you're like a touring musician and you always have backline. So you always have like a Fender Twin or a Fender Deluxe behind you at your shows. Or, you know, in the DC area, there's this thing called Flash Band where you get a backline and you form a temporary band every month, and it's pretty cool. I can see people like wanting to bring just enough pedal board of all their favorite effects to that kind of situation. This isn't your amp modeler. It's not going to have all the amp sounds. Likely. We'll find out more information next week, so make sure you subscribe. This channel will cover everything from literally amp modelers to country music. Those are the 2 things I actually cover. It's a weird combination, but hey, I'm Ryan. I love country music and amp modelers. So we'll find out more information here in the next couple of days, hopefully the week of Columbus Day here in the United States. But yeah, I am super excited about the VP4. I don't know if I'm going to get one because I had the FM9 and it's just spectacular, but I think this is a great segue into the amp modeling world. So let me know what you think. Are you excited about the VP4? Have you ever tried the Fractal stuff? Let me know in the comment section down below. Check out this video over here. That's why I think the FM9 is still the greatest amp modeler in the world, especially into 2024, going into 2025. I'll see you over there, and until then, let the music play.